Hey guys, I'm Darby Cox and I'm the CEO of Smoke Cartel, which is a publicly traded cannabis company. I'm actually the first female CEO of a US publicly traded cannabis company, so that's pretty exciting. This is actually my second time at National Cannabis Festival, so I'm really glad to be back. It's really exciting. It looks like a really great turnout this year. I've been with Smoke Cartel since its inception. My partner Sean is sort of our tech genius, and he came up with the idea in 2014 in our apartment. And I've served as our CEO ever since we went public about a year and a half ago. So we started primarily as a brand to challenge the way that cannabis stereotypes were thought about in the cannabis industry. And since then, we've evolved to have over 18 e-commerce domains, and we have over 500,000 social media followers across all of our platforms, which is pretty exciting for us. And as we grew and developed our web stores, we are ultimately dissatisfied with many of the options available for scaling your commerce, for managing your inventory, for recommending reviews, or any of the other tech functions that an e-commerce website should have. So utilizing the skills of my team, we developed a fully comprehensive suite of e-commerce apps that we actually have started releasing to the public as of this month, which we're pretty excited about. But I'm here today to try to say something inspirational to you guys about being a woman in the Canatech space. So I'm going to start with first a confession. I didn't want to be here today talking about being a woman in the cannabis industry or the tech industry because I've long felt that it was detrimental to my career, and that bringing up the obvious fact that I am a woman highlighted it any more than it needed to be. So with that, I'm going to tell you a story of something that happened to us 4 years ago that made me realize it is part of my job to talk about and open the doors for other women and minorities to be in the cannabis and tech spaces. So 4 years ago, my team was, you weren't really seeing a diverse representation of how women could be portrayed in the cannabis space. So 4 years ago, you were seeing a lot of really scantily clad, hypersexualization of women, which is totally fine if that's your consensual, agreed upon medium for being displayed, but my team wasn't necessarily happy that there wasn't anyone who looked like us or who wanted to be like us or who was a little bit lighter set or of a different color. And so we created this campaign that we called Girls Got Glass, and I really didn't expect anything other than to make my teammates feel good about who they were and how they wanted to be represented. But the day that we launched the campaign, I got a phone call from an unnamed owner, male owner of a very popular female cannabis brand, who accused me of destroying the way that women were supposed to be portrayed in his idea in the cannabis industry, and he told me that he invented hot girls smoking weed, and that I had no place saying that women could be anything else in the industry. So I was pretty horrified with that. That was really stressful for me at first. This guy swore that he was going to make it his life's mission to destroy my brand and to prevent this image from getting out there. And I held a meeting with my team, and after it was all said and done and the sort of initial emotion wore down, we were still really proud of the brand that we created and the space that we were opening up for people, and so we continued to run with it. And looking back, I realized that, this guy, he was just scared of other representation. He thought that there could only be one type because he'd only seen this one way in his entire life, and that's understandable. And that's really why I'm here, is to explain that there is other ways to be represented and that there are multitudes of ways for minorities and people of color and women to be involved in the cannabis and the tech industry. And the interest to do that is certainly there. So my coworker Samantha Kramer, she actually couldn't be with me here today, but she pulled out some really interesting statistics that show the problem isn't necessarily about the interest of women or minorities wanting to join cannabis or tech careers. It's about getting them to stay there. And so Sam, she found this thing, and it's called the Athena Factor, which is essentially a statistic in tech careers where after 10 years, a staggering 41% of women leave the field, which is really insane. And so thinking about this, I mean, I'm obviously not an expert by any means, and I haven't been in the industry for 10 years, so I can't really speak in my experience to what that factors might be. But I think some things that we can do to start preventing this problem from happening is to increase our external communities. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen that Women Grow is a part of this event, and I think that they professionally do a really great job of including people, but I also think that this can be done on a smaller scale by attending events such as this one, by listening to podcasts, by reaching out to communities on Medium, all sorts of different blogging platforms and little smaller scale groups that build social community, and they tell stories, and they're platforms where we can promote each other, promote our own stories, and increase diversification, because sometimes it is really hard for people to view something if they haven't seen it before. On that same level, I think that it's important for us as leaders and business owners to do that internally. So when you're building your team, when you're talking to your teammates, when you're working with your HR career center on making job posts, make sure that your language isn't gendered. Make sure that you aren't thinking about your posts as having a specific identity in mind, because at the end of the day, it really matters having someone who cares and wants to be taught, and they have the grit and the endurance to learn. It's not necessarily about having a formal education in something, and really just by having the support in your team, you can bring interest in a tech or a cannabis career that they may not have otherwise had the support or education to pursue without your assistance. My final piece of advice for keeping women in the cannabis industry actually comes from a friend of mine. It relates back to building a strong support system for yourself. A friend of mine, Leah, from Your Highness podcast, she told me that one of the biggest things for her, and that she hadn't thought about as being an owner of her own company, was to solicit outside financial and legal advice for yourself that has your back. Because as you are building this platform for yourself, as you're going out and trying to build this team and this network of support for your teammates, you need to make sure that someone who isn't paid by your organization is watching out for your best interests as well. Oh goodness, what else do I have for you guys here? I think that's it for you guys. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? If you have any more, you can tweet me at SMKC Darby. We do trade on the OTC markets under the symbol SMKC. And you can visit our website at smokecartel.com, and I'm happy to reach out to you guys there.
Woo!